What is up, ladies and gentlemen? And one thing I would really like to put in here is Spider-Man 2 worth your time? Yes, 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 yes. To start out with. Now, I recently just finished this game not too long ago. It was about a week ago. And what I want to put to here real quick as well is that this game is nothing but short of amazing, to be quite honest with you, because, I am a huge fan when it comes to Marvel comic characters, much like Spider-Man, and others and vice versa. But point being is that what I really think about Spider-Man 2 as a whole, it really boils down to how ending of the traumatic of a game like Spider-Man 2 is. I think this game really does an excellent job with its potential of being one of the best games of all time on the PlayStation 5. Yes, it is an exclusive, but that's not going but I'm not trying to be disingenuous here. I really think that I'm not saying people to flock over to the PlayStation just because they want to play Spider-Man. But either or, it's like, Xbox has its Gears of War or its Halo. But I think when it comes to PlayStation, it's not just about the exclusives. It's not always about exclusives, but it is about the exclusives as well. But what I'm trying to get to here, my apologies, is that I think Spider-Man 2 is definitely a worthy sequel to that of 2018's Spider-Man. And what I thoroughly think about this game in general as well is that I really love the concepts where this game was starting from and where Peter Parker as Spider-Man, he's going through a lot of things in his life in this sequel, and he gets a lot of help from Miles Morales. And Miles Morales actually ends up being more of a focal point in Spider-Man 2 than in the first one. And in the spin-off, which was Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I probably won't be making a video on that, and so I'm just going to put it in here as well, is that Miles Morales Spider-Man game was excellent. It was by far one of the best spin-offs when it comes to a game series like this, especially from Insomniac, because Insomniac does a really good job of really good storytelling, and, they have made some really amazing games in the past years, and they've made the Resistance games, which I absolutely fell in love with. And that's one thing I would really like to say, though, too. I think that Spider-Man 2 really captures the feeling of what Insomniac really does appropriately well when it comes to these games. Because, when it comes to whether if you're playing the Resistance games back on the PS3 days or even playing Spider-Man or other games that Insomniac has made, this company does a really good job of focusing on what they really want to put with these games in general into the general public, no matter what games that they're on, specifically more so on the PlayStation than anything else. But point being, I just think that Spider-Man 2 did a lot of things that I was never really quite expecting when I initially started playing it, because I remember playing the first one, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Because, like I said, I'm a pure 100% Spider-Man fan. Always have and always will. But, however, that's where Spider-Man 2 really takes the cake when it comes to influencing itself and being very somewhat reminiscent to that of what, the tie-in movie games were, like with the Sam Raimi movies of Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. And those games that were tied into those films were actually pretty good. And I remember playing those many years ago, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed them. But as far as I'm concerned, I think when it comes to Marvel Spider-Man 2 here on the PlayStation 5, is that Insomniac went all out on this game, dude. They really, really did, because I really think that this game really shows where this game is going to go when it comes to Spider-Man 3. I really think that Spider-Man 3 is going to be the final game in Insomniac's new venture when it comes to the Spider-Man games on the PlayStation 5. And like I said, I'm kind of interested of where Spider-Man 3 is going to go. But that's besides the point. But however, I think Spider-Man 2 did a lot of things that, like I said, it was something that I wasn't really prepared for, because I knew that Spider-Man 2 was going to be one of the most pinnacle games on on the Sony PlayStation 5 because, when it comes to exclusives specifically, even on PlayStation or Xbox, it just goes to show you that, these games really do have their own specific type of place. And I think that's where I think Spider-Man 2 does amazingly well. The story in this game is phenomenal. I love the writing. I think the writing was very well done. And it was the fact that it was the character progression as well, along with Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and MJ, and all these other characters that are part of the Spider-Man universe to a certain degree. But with Miles Morales as Spider-Man though too, he does he does a lot of things that Spider-Man Peter Parker normally can't do, because when it comes to abilities, the abilities between Miles Morales and Peter Parker Spider-Man are so different, and that's where I feel like that's where the gameplay mechanics and the aesthetics of Spider-Man 2 really boils down to, switching between Miles Morales and switching to Peter Parker Spider-Man. And I love that transition. The transition between the two is really good. I really love that. I really love that combination. I love the fact of where it's gonna go, where it went with, along with the story. Because like I said, these characters are an interesting and more important focal point when it comes to Spider-Man 2, and I think that's what's so remarkable when it comes to Spider-Man 2 as well, and I love that. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about Miles Morales than Peter Parker Spider-Man, because what I love about Miles Morales more so than I did with Peter Parker Spider-Man is that it's not just because of his abilities. You're able to go invisible with a certain type of ability, which is really cool. I love that. I love the fact that you are able to do certain types of venom blasts with skills and abilities with Miles Morales, and how you're going to ascertain and pertain to how he's going to utilize those powers to a certain type of degree. And it's amazing how Miles Morales is able to really utilize those abilities to the utmost of having better area of effect. And I think that's amazing. I think it's really well worth investing in. If you really want to go more into that, you can. I mean, I do highly suggest actually ended up going with all the abilities with Miles Morales and Peter Parker Spider-Man, because now, what I was going to say, though, too, it's like when you transition between Miles Morales and Peter Parker Spider-Man, they do have their own different, like I said, they do have their own separate types of abilities. But what makes it even more truly unique, transitioning from Miles Morales into Peter Parker Spider-Man, like I said, it works flawlessly. I love the way how you're able to implement that. You swipe on the left of the touchpad on the PlayStation 5 controller, and just hold down the square button and transition from Peter Parker Spider-Man or to Miles Morales Spider-Man. It's really good. I love that transition, and I think like I said, it does it amazingly well. I love that transition. Now, what I was going to get to, I'm sorry, is that Venom. I think Venom really is my all-time villains when it comes to the Spider-Man universe, opposite that of Green Goblin. I think Green Goblin has always been the number one villain when it comes to the Spider-Man villains in the best bestiarity or whatever they call it. So my apologies on that as well. But however, I think Venom really shows where this character goes in terms from the beginning to the end of the game. And obviously, you already know that Venom is susceptible, to sound. It's always been that crux of Venom's weakness, and I'm really glad they're able to show that in this game. Now, there is one thing I would really like to put in here, is that I was thoroughly impressed and maybe even surprised to how Venom has evolved in a video game. Much like from the animated series back in the mid-1990s on TV, or much like, from the original Spider-Man games with Tobey Maguire, Especially in Spider-Man 3, I thought that Venom was absolutely atrocious. I did not like the way how they presented him in that way. And it was not the greatest interpretation of that. I did not like that at all, so I'm just going to put that out there too. But this interpretation of Venom, especially in Spider-Man 2, is very well done. I was even more surprised that it was not Eddie Brock, but it is Harry Osborn. But we did actually end up getting hints to where that I think we all knew that it was going to be Harry Osborn to be Venom rather than Eddie Brock, because what I understand is that they did a little bit things differently when it comes to either Spider-Man 2018 or even in Spider-Man 2, because they did, however, they wanted to change things up, because for what I understand is that I think that they actually ended up not having Eddie Brock in Spider-Man 2, and I guess I can see why, or understand why they did that, is because they wanted to switch things up a little bit. I think that's where I finally realized that it's a good change up. I like that change because it gives you a sense of certainty to where how is Venom going to be specifically played in a video game, in my personal opinion. Because, like I say, when we had Topher Grace in Spider-Man 3 film playing that Eddie Brock and that Venom story arc, like I said, it was bad. It was not. The implementation was so bad. I don't even know why I'm bringing this up again. So my apologies on that. But however, I think Harry Osborn being that villain as Venom in Spider-Man 2 does a really good job. And one thing I would really like to put in here too is that Tony Todd, dude, you did an amazing job doing the voice of Venom. This guy is amazing. He played the original Candyman back in the Candyman movies, and I think it greatly shows that how deeply important it is when it comes to voiceovers in video games. And that's why I was saying, it's like I really would like to see more games be more not just story focused implemented or experience. I think it just has to do with that you have to find the right people. I really thoroughly believe that you have to find the right people, find the right, not just the director, but you have to find the right people who are going to do these amazing voices for these characters. And that's where this game really falls under an important guideline when it comes to story arc driven games like Spider-Man 2, or even like I previously mentioned when I made my Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 type of creative incentives, not incentivized, but creative inspiration of how that series really brings to a whole of how it really feels like. It kind of feels like of a Star Trek, right? But I'm just doing a little bit of a quick analogy here because I think when it comes to the Spider-Man games, especially Spider-Man 2018 or even Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2 really captivates its audience as a whole to where it's holding true to... I don't think it's really holding true to what the comics were, but this is what I'm trying to get to, is that, I love the way how the interpretation of Venom is taking place in this game. I like the way how it's implemented as Harry Osborn being Venom other than Eddie Brock. And not only that, the story is very interesting and it's captivating at the same time because you're getting a lot of... Like I said, you're getting a lot of interpretation. And with that interpretation as Eddie Brock and being... not Eddie Brock, but having Harry Osborn being that villain and being that Venom just really gives it a little bit of a healthy appetite to a certain degree. Because I really think that, watching the Spider-Man movies, whether if it's like the Tom Hollands or the Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, but I think when it came to... Now, going back to comparison, you're going back to Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire and James Franco and Topher Grace playing as Eddie Brock and as Venom. What I'm trying to get to is that I really think that Spider-Man 2 here really implements the Venom story arc much better. It's not just much better, but I think it provides a certain type of degree to where that it is gonna be different from what we already initially thought, or what we initially of or what we've seen when it comes to Eddie Brock becoming Venom. And Venom is actually, initially, from what I understand as well, he actually ends up being the anti-hero. Venom has always been the anti-hero and becoming the antithesis of being that eventual villain in the Spider-Man universe. But that's what makes Venom so unique, other from the other villains, like Hydra Man or Green Goblin, like I said, or Hobgoblin. You have all these different types of enemies within the Spider-Man universe, whether if it's in the comic books, the video games, or any kind of iteration of what you're watching or viewing or anything. But that's where I feel like that's where Spider-Man 2 does an amazing job of utilizing how Venom is going to be portrayed. I think the portrayal of Venom in Spider-Man 2 is one of the, like I said, I think it's one of the best I've seen. Opposite, like I said, of Spider-Man 3, the film with Topher Grace as Eddie Brock and being that Venom character. And like I said, it was bad. I know I'm going back to this, so my apologies on that. But however, I think Spider-Man 2 just, it's a lot of things that this game was thoroughly unexpected for me when I first initially played it as well, because what I mean by that, it was something that I was not really fully prepared for, because, coming off from playing Spider-Man 2018, I kind of finally, I was trying to, I was taken aback a little bit, because I was kind of curious of what they were going to do with the story in Spider-Man 2, as it's already out for the PlayStation 5. But however, I really do think that Insomniac Games did it, they upped their ante. They upped their most ambitious title yet. And I think Spider-Man 2 did that in all fronts. I can't harp on this game enough to how truly amazing this game really is from beginning to end. And I would really like to say I think Spider-Man 3, if and whenever that game comes out, probably in the next few years during the PlayStation 5's life cycle, because I know that they are eventually going to be releasing another PlayStation console, which I think it's going to be in the next few years, but I'm hoping that Spider-Man 3 video game is going to really entail of where the rest of the story is going to go in that game. I think it's very thoroughly amazing to how far we have come when it comes to this game in general. And it just goes to show you that, we don't have games like this very much anymore. Like I've always stated in my videos, and it's good to know that I think Insomniac just did an awesome job. They really, really did, and I'm hoping that Spider-Man 3 is really going to deliver. And one thing, there is one thing I would really like to add here too. It's like, I really think another thing that really kind of changed the formula in Spider-Man 2, other than, having Harry Osborn as Venom, I'm kind of curious where they're going to go if they were to introduce the Green Goblin. It would be kind of interesting, because I think a lot of people are really and are expecting, or maybe antithesis where Spider-Man 3 is going to go in terms of its villains. And people I would say, are speculating either on the Green Goblin or the Hobgoblin, or it could be any type of other villain in the Spider-Man universe. But like I said, that's where I'm saying it's like, I'm really kind of curious where Spider-Man 3 is going to go. And then it just goes great, and it's just good to show you that I want to have games like this again, because I think when it comes to single player games in general, much like Spider-Man 2, or even old school titles like the Legacy of Kain series, or like Mass Effect, it's like we don't have games like those anymore. But that's where I'm saying I think that's where Spider-Man 2, or even Spider-Man 2018, just did the story flawlessly, because you had these amazing character arcs and the progression systems with these characters. And it's amazing how far Spider-Man 2 has come when it comes to that type of progression. And I love that. It's so good. And that's why I am so passionate when it comes to certain things in life. I really am. But I think when it comes to single player games like Spider-Man 2 or other games that I just previously mentioned, I want to see games like this again. And I know I intend to repeat myself, so my apologies on that as well. But I just really would love to see what Spider-Man 3 is going to do, if and when that game ever comes out. So, all I can say is that, do I highly recommend playing this game? Yes, I do. I give this game a 9.5 out of 10 in my personal opinion, because they did so many things different from what I actually initially thought before this game even came out. And I think those expectations really were high. My expectations were really high for this game, but I'm glad that they were, because like I said, I am thoroughly impressed where this game went. And what I will say is that the side content is actually a lot more fun than it was in the first one. The Sandman boss at the beginning of the game was freaking epic. Oh my god, it was so awesome. And it just, I love the Sandman boss battle. It was fantastic, and I love the way how you're able to utilize certain ways how to circumvent or being able to dodge certain types of things while defeating Sandman. It was, like I said, it was awesome. It was epic. It was very climactic, not anticlimactic, but it was very climatic. And I'm not kidding, dude. The chills on my arms and my back literally went straight up. From my hair went completely straight up, because it was fascinating. It was one of the best boss battles I've ever seen. But however, I think the Venom boss battle, was really amazing as well. That's one thing I actually want to put in here real quick too, is that the boss battle with Venom, I think, is my number one favorite of all time in Spider-Man 2, because of the fact, like I previously mentioned, is that Venom is by far one of my all-time favorite anti-hero villains within the Spider-Man universe, opposite that of the Green Goblin. I do like other villains as well, but I think Venom, oh my god, I can't talk today, but I do believe that Venom just really takes the cake when it came to what he was actually able to do when he was fighting against Spider-Man much later in the game, before you finish the game. And sprouting those demon wings, oh my god, that was freaking sick. And it was awesome. And I'm just like, I'm not kidding, because when I saw that, I'm just like, what the fuck is this shit? But seriously, it was amazing. It was phenomenal. And I just think that it was absolutely freaking amazing. And Spider-Man 2, you guys, bravo, Insomniac. I think you did an amazing job with this title. And like I said, I'm kind of curious where Spider-Man 3 is going to go. But anyways, so much further ado, any comments or questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. Be more than happy to reply back even whenever possible. And you guys have a good rest of your week. Peace.